I discovered this drill out of frustration, sheer frustration, because I was really good at hitting irons and I could hit them really far, but this to me always felt like natural setup. And I actually struggled a little bit with getting the ball in the air at one point, and everything was like low and left, or I'd like kind of leave the face open and it would just slice. And then I was watching Tiger Woods and like some other really good drivers of the ball, Rory McIlroy for one. And I just noticed that when they were getting set up, like the shaft was not forward at all. It was actually almost reversed and like pointing the other way. And that sort of broke my brain because I'm like, what? But truly, this is what driver release needs to feel like. And so to actually understand this, I had to put my feet together and put the ball, like literally almost a ball in front of my front foot. Because now, remember how I explained shaft lean being like where the ball is in your stance? Like now, because I was actually behind it, I'm like, okay, now I can have a little bit of like shaft lean the other way, but also like if this is what the release needs to feel like, I'm almost setting it up at impact. Very similar to the way that you set up an iron impact at address, right? Hands ahead, shaft lean, because this is where you want to be at impact, right? With driver, I just never really thought that you should set up almost where you want the impact to be at address, because then we can return it. And as someone who had real problems hitting up on the ball, I would always do what I was taught, which was, put the ball here, do a step, and then a bigger step so that I could get the ball on the inside of my left foot, okay? But when I would do that, it would get too far inside the left foot. And I don't even know it because I'm thinking it's in line with my heel, right? Now look at the shaft lean, still a little shaft lean. And so, yeah, it might mess with your brain at first, but like understanding, like if you want more distance, like the ball has to actually be in the front of your stance, not inside your left heel. Maybe if you're a pro and you're perfect and you're like Adam Scott or something, it looks like it's just inside the left heel, right? But when you watch him set up, there is no shaft lean. And so I'm not saying don't put it inside your left heel, but when people get here and they step, the left heel is over here. You know what I mean? Like this is already, so for me to fix this, feet together, just like this. And then literally I'm set up with no shaft lean, almost backwards. And I'm just going to try to release the hands through, right? Now, again, this isn't how I would hit driver, but if you don't actually release the hands, it's very hard to hit up on the ball, and it's very hard to have the club face square or rotating close, right? When people slice, it's because the club head is here, impact here, and then maybe by the time it turns around, it's over here. It's way too late, okay? Impact, and then look at how much it's already turned over, and that's only about 12 inches past the ball. And so, if you actually want to hit it high in the air, if you actually want to stay behind the ball, all these things actually happen more at setup than I realized. I was trying to do all of that, like, on the way down. You know what I mean? It's like, I just didn't realize that the ball was never really in the front of my stance, and that my feet were always way too wide. And it was like an aha moment of like, well, I can still release it a little left and keep the face a little open. Oh, okay, a fade release, right? Because the release happens in the hands. Body turns, but I'm holding on to this club with my hands. So like if the hands are so passive, no distance and no actual control. And so I just worked on this and I was just like, the aha moment was when I would do that and I'm like, okay, it drew and it went straight, like, and 200 plus yards. If I can do this 200 yards straight, I am working way too hard with driver to get 20 yards more. Like that's the aha crazy moment. It's almost like, okay, so the taller you stand up, put the feet closer than you're used to, stand up a little taller in the legs, and really be okay with like releasing the hands. You're not someone who I see doing this That's super beginner stuff, dude. Your body is opening, right? But if the body is opening and the hands are completely passive, where's the face? My wrist is bowed. I'm still here. You know what I mean? So like, I'm not saying that Colin Morikawa doesn't do a version of that, but that's one guy, okay? One guy. When you look at Rory McIlroy, he is set up like this. Like he's literally behind the golf ball. And then because the arc of the swing isn't just around yourself, the club also goes up and down, right? So like, yeah, the club's coming down and then up. Naturally, when you do this, right, the most up part of the driver head swing is on the front side of your body. So if you put the ball right here, it would be really hard to hit down on it. And it's like, but if it's here, you're going to have to work extra to get behind it and get up on it. That's why people lean back. If you're already behind the ball, I don't need to lean back to get behind it or to hit up on it because it's already there. The only way I can hit it forward is by hitting up on it. And see how I'm still back, but it's much different than this. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, it looks like such a silly drill. You're like, I'm not going to chip the ball. I want to hit driver. And then it doesn't go half as far as this. Literally pounded that. My feet are almost touching. Hands released with the body turn. I mean, think about throwing a baseball. I'm not holding the lag here. So like the turn and the release are happening together. Anytime the club is flatter, has less loft, it has to release sooner. Because like with an iron, you can get away with it kind of being a little bit more open. But with a driver, it's got to release over faster. Because people think this is a hook past impact with the toe that close. No, it's not. That's how much the face needs to rotate over to hit it straight. People don't realize that. They just keep it here. This is straight. This is a hook. This is a slice. Okay, so like slice, hook, straight, right? This is a slice. This is not straight. This is not the release we want. The release we want is right here. And so for somebody to hit a draw, the only drill you actually need is put the ball behind you. Start with the club head right here. See how the club is in front of the ball? See how my hands are behind the ball? Perfect draw every time. Because you're setting up with where you want to end at impact, you know?
Can we do that, Coach?
Absolutely. And what's funny is people will do it all day with irons and they'll say, okay, you got it. You know what I mean? Okay, but I get that it works. Yeah, that's good. Exaggerate it. But why are we not doing the same with driver? We should be starting from where we want to be post-impact and then don't put the club back here and then take a swing. Can you start the swing from where you want the club to finish and then just replace it there? Dead straight draw. That's probably the best. That's probably the straightest draw I've ever hit in my life.
That's the drill. What's the position in the actual driver swing then?
Well, it's up to you, right? For me, if I really want to hit it high, I'm going to get behind the ball it's set up. Like seriously. And it helps with fades.
Okay.
If you really get behind it. Okay. If I want to hit a draw, I'll maybe put it just a little bit more inside of the left. I mean, look, everybody's different. This is the experiment part that needs to happen. But like for me, if there's wind, I'll actually put it a little bit more closer to inside my left heel. And I'll kind of like abbreviate my finish, right? But that's because I want the ball to go low. But for me, I hit the ball pretty high and I have a lot of club head speed. My normal shot without thinking about it right now with driver is kind of like a power fade. So, but like again, some people feel like when the ball's right here, they're going to hook it. I do think it's easier to get the club head turned over when the ball's in the front of your stance. I feel like here promotes like, see this open? So what you would have to do. Yep.
That's what I have a lot.
If you want to avoid that.
Yeah.
This is casting. See this?
Yeah.
You would have to do this to release the club into the ball when the ball's that far back in the stance. So for me, my normal ball, like I'll put my feet here and like I move my right foot back. I don't move my left foot forward.
Okay.
It's almost like when you get set up like here, that's it. Just move the back foot back. Now you're behind the ball. Rather than, this is unfortunately bad advice because it promotes the wrong thing. You want to promote the ball being forward, and then eventually if it's going too high, and
You can
can
adjust.
adjust it, but most people struggle with the release because the ball is not far forward enough in the swing. Remember, with driver, this club head needs to be moving up. That's why we put the ball back in our stance when we want to hit down on it, because at that point in the arc of the club head swinging up and down, it's moving very down. You know what I mean? The up part doesn't happen till after, but because the up part happens sort of more after, put the ball more after, and then I don't have to think about hitting up, because the natural arc of the swing, right? It goes up and down with the club head. It also goes around. Both of those are arcs. It's like there's an arc around and an arc up and down. And, yeah, that's it.